Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Josh Konigsberg, partner and co-founder of Law Firm Marketing Pros, a digital marketing consulting firm on a mission. Josh specializes in helping lawyers and law firms significantly improve their sales and revenue performance by getting their digital marketing right. They do this by more effectively marketing online to create an enhanced digital footprint and online omnipresence through a proprietary system, the law firm client generation system. We are definitely going to talk about that today. He's also the author of the Ultimate Digital Marketing Guides for Law Firms. And he's the host of the Law Firm Marketing Pros podcast. Join me as I dive into Josh's journey, the early days of his business, and his insights on the future of digital marketing for law firms. So get comfortable. We're about to get inappropriate. All right. Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. I'm Paul Angel, your host, and I'm really excited to have with us today the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Josh. Help me with your name. I want to say Konigsberg.
That's correct.
Oh,
yes.
I'm on a little roll with my names, and that's I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Josh, just so I don't have to do it and run the risk of doing it wrong, why don't you kind of tell us where you are, how you got there, and what do you do?
Great. First of all, Paul, just thanks for having me as a guest. Really excited about it. Been looking forward to this day. So thank you so much for the invitation. So partner, co-founder at Law Firm Marketing Pros, digital marketing agency specializing in helping law firms grow, aggressive, growth-minded law firms grow. And we've been doing digital marketing, providing services we're now in our 14th year.
Just curious a little bit about your background and where that inspiration came to be a co-creator or founder of Law Firm Marketing Pros. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so my background is I'm a lifelong entrepreneur and marketer. My degree is in communication, so I naturally gravitated to marketing and to sales, and started my first business shortly after I graduated college when I realized that when I was selling that when I got my first commission check, just didn't feel like it was right. So I'm on the wrong side of the table here. So eventually started my own business and struggled with some business, learned some things along the way, kind of the school of the hard knocks rather than going to, I'm from Philadelphia originally, so we say Wharton School of Business at University of Pennsylvania. Rather than go there, I went to the school of hard knocks. And the inspiration for Law Firm Marketing Pros started about 14 years ago. I want to say it was 2011, right towards the tail end of the Great Recession. And I had pretty much lost everything and had to start over and reinvent myself. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who we had worked together on some projects prior to that date. And he called me up and he said, "Are you making any money?" I'm like, "No, man, nobody's making any money." He said, "Well, you know how you get that map on Google now, and back then, if you remember the names of the Lycoses and the Alta Vistas and whatnot, it was all just metadata. And Google had just introduced the map section, which back then was called Google Places. And there were 7 push pins corresponding on the map and the location of the map. And great story there. If we have time, I can get into the genesis of that whole thing. But so he said, "Well, my friend has a degree in aerospace engineering from Embry-Riddle, which makes him a rocket scientist, and he hated engineering. And he gravitated to marketing and really loved it. And one of the top PPC minds in the country. So he says, you know, I just spent like the last 6 months and I cracked the code." I'm like, "What do you mean you cracked the code?" He says, "I cracked Google's code. I know how we can get businesses on the map." I'm like, "Okay, is that legal?" He said, "Yeah, of course it's legal. It's just knowing what their algorithm wants and how it works." And I said, "Okay, so what are you thinking?" He says, "Well, I know how to get businesses ranked into the map, and I think it's going to be really valuable marketing and advertising real estate going forward for businesses." but I don't know how to market it. I don't know how to package it, and I don't know how to sell it. And you're the best guy I know to do that. So let's start a business. And that was the inspiration, is being in a situation where I had to reinvent myself. I'm a single father of two. So I raised two children by myself. I'm a single father. I'm losing everything because, the Great Recession, everything's crumbling around us. I need to do something. I reinvent myself. The first phone call I made was to my family law lawyer who got me full custody of my children. I went to meet with her, right? She wrote me a check on the spot. So shout out to Amy Cosentino, wrote me a check on the spot so we could get her on the map in Google Places. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be easy. Lo and behold, not so easy. We ultimately transitioned to providing services only to law firms. As we increased our service offerings over the years, we pivoted, making the decision in the fall of 2019, officially launching the brand Law Firm Marketing Pros January 2nd, 2020, just 10 weeks before COVID. And it's a good thing we did, because we lost about 50% of our clients in our generalist agency, and we have more than 5x our growth since then by focusing solely on law.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in those early days? I'm thinking more along the lines of the early days of going 2020, going just law firms.
Okay, so focusing solely on law, the biggest challenge is that a couple things happened with COVID. So the attorneys realized that everybody was going to, I'll use Zoom, even though we're not on Zoom at the moment. Everybody was going to Zoom, everything's online, and a lot of attorneys woke up and, oh my God, I'm not online. I've talked to attorneys in the last year and a half, still don't have a website. So attorneys are generally laggards, if you're familiar with that concept of the law of the fusion of innovation. And so as you go through the stages, generally speaking, and those that grasped it early were able to explode their businesses. And John Morgan is a testament to that, from Morgan & Morgan, right? I heard him speak about a year and a half ago, and he really embraced the digital. So the challenge is, first and foremost, getting their attention amongst the chatter of the 10 emails and phone calls they're getting a day from make-believe, pretend, charlatan agencies that are calling them from every country on the globe, right? So they're getting calls from India and Pakistan and the Philippines and South America. And so differentiating ourselves from that chatter to get their attention long enough. And then it's an educational process. So they have to understand. Attorneys by nature want to understand, right? Because they're used to having to do discovery. They're used to having, they have to tear cases apart. And so I felt it was important to take a consultative approach and teach them how the ecosystem works, so they know why we do what we do and how to prioritize what we do. But the biggest challenge is differentiation and just getting in front of them.
What inspired that mission, and how do you plan to continue to achieve it?
I felt as though it was important to have a target. So what's the bogey? So if we were to help 200 law firms as clients, and 50% of them got to 7 figures and beyond, and now actually we're moving the needle to 8 figures. So I felt as though it was important for our team to have a target, as well as to have a message to our avatar that this is what we want to do for you. So I picked a number of 100. Maybe the right number is 500. So over each one of my shoulders, you see 7-figure mentor on this side. And there's actually an award for We Won Agency of the Year for 2021 from 7-Figure Agency. They also had a target for the number of agencies that they wanted to help get to 7 figures. Now they moved that bogey from 100 to 500. They're at like 130 now. There's like 350 members. And now their goal is to get 500 to 7 figures and 100 to 8 figures. So that gives us a target for our team and for our audience.
How do you define success? And I'm talking about for your clients. What metrics do you use to measure?
Great question. So first and foremost, I want to talk about vanity metrics or bullshit metrics. What doesn't matter? Okay. So what doesn't matter is a like or a share or a comment on social media. You're not paying your mortgage, you're not paying your rent for your office space on a like, are you? So so what we want to do is we want to focus on what matters most or where the rubber hits the road. Okay. And at the end of the day, that is a conversion to a new client. That is the one that matters most. So there's a lot of confusion and misinformation within my industry, and I'll even say I'll niche it down to the agencies that provide services to lawyers, not to mention any names, but there are some very large ones out there that may be associated with insects. Um, but bullshit metrics like conversion is a click, conversion is a call, conversion to an appointment, conversion to a hire, right? So that they're counting calls 1 second and longer. Is a 1 second call a conversion? I don't consider it a conversion. We don't count a phone call as a conversion unless it's longer than 2 minutes. That's a real phone call. The one thing that we're not responsible for is I can bring the qualified lead to the client, but if the intake on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being best, if intake is a 2 or a 3, what's going to happen? The other difficult thing is attribution today. And so someone like yourself who's a coach, it's important to understand the attribution of where are the leads coming from and the quality of those leads and which are converting best, so we know where to apply our resources, right? Where do we put our accelerant? Unfortunately, the customer journey today is all over the map. Right? And I mean map, I'm not talking about Google Maps. I mean the customer journey is they're finding you in a Google search, or they're getting you from a referral from someone else, or they got your business card from your BNI group or some networking event. They're going online, they're checking you out, they're reading reviews, and they're reading reviews in multiple places. They're going to look at your social media. They're going to look at your YouTube to see what your videos information is providing. They want to see how knowledgeable you are because they want to get to know you, they want to get to like you, and they want to get to trust you, right? We've all heard that before from Bill Burr. So the attribution is extremely difficult today, and I want to say we're probably about 70% accurate. We're working on some ways to get that better. But then when you have things like Brave Browser or iOS that's going to, you can block ads, right? So if you're using an ad blocker on your browser on your PC, we don't know, right? Because that's so if we're going to use call tracking, it's going to block our call tracking mechanism. So it becomes more difficult to understand. But what we look at it as a whole, and let's say as a halo around it, let's look at how many website visitors you got. Let's take a look at how long, what's your bounce rate look like. The more videos you have, by the way, the longer they're going to stay on your website, right? So, and ultimately, and the first question our client success managers ask, how's it going? Is business up or is business down, right? And if business is down, they're going to tell us anyway, right? And the first question we ask when they say, is business down? Has anything changed internally? Are you listening to your intake calls? Or we want them recorded, but are you listening to them? Oh, you got a new intake person, a new girl answering the phone. Have you listened to her call? No, I haven't. Right? Just went through this with a client yesterday. Okay. So, does that answer your question in terms of the KPI that we're looking for? So ultimately it is how many conversions of the types of clients that you're getting are you getting? And what did it look like same time last year? So something as simple as if they watched Shark Tank, they would know this. What's your customer acquisition cost? How many times have you heard Mr. Wonderful say that, right? So I'll say 1 out of 10 attorneys I talk to, maybe 2, know what their customer acquisition costs. I need that as a baseline.
You've got a proprietary system. Can you explain what the law firm client generation system is
Yeah.
And you talked about differentiation, but how does it differentiate law firm marketing pros from, say, other digital marketing
Yeah.
strategies?
Great question. So obviously been doing this a long time. We're in our 14th year. I mentor other agencies. And so what I realized I want to talk about the genesis of the law firm client generation system. So, so 8 years ago, you could do one or two things and you're fine, right? If you were just doing pay per click, or if you were just doing a really good job on SEO and you had a good website, maybe you had somebody who was a rock star at social media and you had a good website, right? You could get away with that. Or if you had just a really, really big budget and you threw a ton of money at traditional as well as social media, you'd be fine. But what we realized as the customer journey continued to evolve, you couldn't do just one thing. And we realized that we needed a system. Way back then, we took a tactical approach to marketing. What do I mean by tactical? I mean, you need SEO, you need PPC, you need better social media, whatever the tactic is. And I realized early on that needed to change. And what I'm noticing as I'm mentoring young agencies that join the 7-figure agency group is they all do the same thing. Everybody takes a tactical approach. They have one area of expertise or two areas of expertise, and that's what they sell. So we realized that the strategy should be this. It should be to create an online omnipresence. So everywhere the potential customer looks, they see you. And there's no more cost effective way to do that than online today, right? Unless you have a big budget where you can put 50 billboards up and down the highway, along with, I'm just thinking PI, right? With radio, at drive time radio, and TV, and backpacks, and buses, right? Unless you have that big budget, how do you do it? How do you remain competitive? So, what we realized is we needed to create a system that encompassed all of the most important digital marketing components. And then what we did was we made it modular so that we can help the one solo practitioner firm all the way up to our largest is a 7-partner, 25 associate, 150 employee firm, and everything in between, so that we can carve out what's going to work for them. But at the very minimum, this is what you need that's going to move the needle to show you an ROI in a period of time that's acceptable. Because if you just rely on SEO, you're in 6, 9, 12 months, you're going to be like, I got like 2 phone calls and the needle doesn't move, right? So, and what differentiates us is this. It's not just the system. It's the fact that in addition to building great, beautiful, award-winning, conversion optimized websites, we do 3 things better than everybody else. And these 3 things are the 3 things that matter most. We do Google Maps better than anybody else. I have another partner who's also an engineer. He won an award from a 7-figure agency for our Google Maps strategy. On average, our clients see a 65% conversion rate from Google Maps. So I've got clients spending $50, $60, $70,000 a month on our click budget on PPC. That's only 20, 25% because we're getting so many organic leads. Why is that important? The more organic clicks and leads I get you, the lower your customer acquisition cost, right? So Google Maps, currently called Google Business Profile, it's been through 10 name changes. I discussed our PPC strategist is one of the top 10 in the world. He's the one with the degree in aerospace engineering. We drive down the cost per click to the lowest possible number while getting you qualified leads. And then we have a badass reputation marketing program called Top Rated Law Firm. And it is really, really badass because if you don't have the best reputation in your market, what's going to happen? They're going to pick somebody else. Remember, they don't know who you are yet. So the strategy of creating that online omnipresence that I talked about earlier, I'm going to follow that up with, I then want you in a category of 1. So given there are 4 options as a consumer, and all of us as consumers have 4 options on almost every single business transaction. I can choose to do business with you. I can choose to do business with your competitor. I can go pro se and represent myself, yuck, or I can do nothing at all and stay in a shitty marriage. I did it, right? Until I hired the right family law lawyer, right? So thanks again. Shout out to Amy Cosentino. With that in mind, the reputation component, and that's only one component of putting you in a category of one, is supremely important. And it has to be easy for you, and it has to be easy for your clients. And all throughout the process, so we gather real reviews from real clients, we get them syndicated, we monitor the review ecosystem. So what people are saying about you behind your back, is that really important? Of course it is. So if somebody says something negative about you behind your back, we're going to let you know. If somebody says something positive about you outside of the top rated law firm platform, we're going to bring that in. We're going to show it to you. We're going to share it on your social media. We're going to push it onto your website. And then we have an AI response tool. So you can, because Google is now rewarding for responsiveness to reviews. We are, with a click of a button, you're getting an AI response that you get to edit and automatically post as a response. So that's our top rated law firm. But there is one more thing, Paul, that separates us. And I want you to think of it as a digital geographic footprint that we increase for the client. So that if I'm in Baton Rouge, I have an office in Baton Rouge, and that address would be get me in the map in Baton Rouge. But as a personal injury attorney, do you want cases outside of Baton Rouge? If you're a family law firm, do you want cases outside of Baton Rouge? Of course you do. So we've created this piece of technology called local search supremacy, and it dramatically increases the digital footprint based upon the types of cases that you want. So you can expand your reach, because in Baton Rouge, there's only so many family law cases filed there's only so many divorce cases, only so many child custody cases filed each month. What percentages of the market should you realistically expect to get? 5%, 10%? That's it. That's all there is for you, right? So let's expand it. So you can only go so deep. So now we go wide. So now we blanket your desired communities, your desired counties, and get you ranked high in Google so you can get additional conversions.
Knowing that, how do you kind of stay ahead of that? Are you able to predict what's going to be hot? Are you able to predict what's going to go cold?
Well, I've got a crystal ball over here in my cabinet.
I need one of those.
So as a member and a mentor, but more importantly, a member of seven-figure agency, they have multiple tiers, and we're in we're in the highest level. It's called the Titans. Several things happen. First of all, we all get together 3 times a year for a week-long intensive. Speakers come in, kind of the best of the best, and we're learning new techniques and technologies, right? At the last day, only the largest members, agencies doing over 7 figures a year, are invited to the last day. And we do this thing called Ninja Hacks. And so they picked 10 or 15. Everybody submits a hack. And if you get picked, you share this hack that you figured out for your clients. You share it with the group. It's an insider's thing. Not even the other paying members get access to it. Only the people that are doing 7 figures, because we pay extra as part of that, right? So those hacks, every person in the room for 4 hours writing, like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't believe I've never seen this, or never thought of that. Or so that's one way. The other way is from that group, then they take the very top, and I want to say there's 15 members, and we meet outside that group 3 times a year, and we reconvene in the Titans Mastermind group. And we do it on site at one of our locations around the country. And I actually have one coming up in October. And then again, we get a deeper dive in. First of all, we all get in the hot seat. What's going on? Give us some wins, and then tell us what your problems are. Because as agencies, just like as law firms, especially when you niche down to a law firm type of law, you're probably experiencing the same type of problems, especially if you're similar in size, right? I can tell you a law firm doing 8 million doesn't have the same problems as a law firm doing 800,000, right? You know that. So same holds true for digital marketing agencies, right? So we get to share and to some extent almost anticipate because, oh gosh, that happened to him and he's bigger than me. That's coming my way, right? So that's how we stay on top of it. And then, of course, my partners who are engineers are in the chat rooms and the groups in the PPC. There's an elite group of PPC minds. There's only 10 people invited. We're in that group. And so they meet once a month separately. So that's how we do it. And one more thing, Paul. I don't know how many people are listening, but 3 times a week in the morning when I'm having my cup of coffee, I'm reading Search Engine Land. How many people out there are reading Search Engine Land 3 times a week?
Okay. Well, I can tell you there's only one person on this call that does that. I don't even know what that is. I would imagine, I bet that you see a common mistake or the same mistake made over and over and over again. What would you say is just what law firms are doing it? And when they're doing their digital marketing, especially if they're doing it themselves, but sometimes they're paying a lot of money for it. What is the biggest mistake you see, and how could people very simply avoid it?
So some of it depends on size. Okay, so this is why we have a floor, because the smaller firms are the most amount of work, and the saying is we don't take anybody that's bleeding from the head. Because they need a lot more work for our team and they're paying us a lot less money, right? So that's why we have a floor, right? But the biggest thing I see, and I hate to sound almost egotistical about it, but they get in their own way. They're smart. You guys are smart. You're attorneys. You went to law school. You're smart. But you got to get out of your way and let us do our job. Now, again, know, like, and trust takes time. So my best clients, the ones that have, I've got 2 that are part of an 8-figure firm. If you're familiar with that group, one of them won the Revenue Rockstar Award last year. The other one won Fastest Growing last year. Those guys just let us do our job. They meet with their CSM once a month. If there's a problem, they let us know. If there's, oh, geez, well, I had a bad month. What's going on? Well, Google changed the algorithm and you ran out of click budget. We asked you if you wanted to increase your click budget for the last week. You said no. Even though it's only a week, that's 25% of the month, right?
So how do you integrate and how do you work with a firm that has a coaching program? Because I've seen sometimes marketing agencies and coaching programs are button heads. Yeah. I know you have to have seen that. What's the best strategy on your end?
Well, here's one of the problems that we run into with coaches. Again, you guys are smart. You're coaching attorneys. You're smart. But some of the knowledge and information that you have is antiquated. Like, I've gotten in arguments with coaches. I'm like, that stuff's 2 years old. And it's like dog years, right? That's really 14 years ago, right? We try to educate and then work with the coach. So look, this is why we do what we do. This is how we do it. And these are the results we've seen so far. So I like to use this analogy. Look, we've got the world's best chocolate cake. It's an award-winning chocolate cake. This recipe is our recipe. If you come in and you decide that you're going to put a couple more eggs in, take out some of the flour or some of the sugar, what's going to happen to the recipe, right? This is a proven recipe. I've got clients double, tripling, quadrupling their income in 4 years.
What's ironic, though, and what's interesting, and what you're saying, like you're the biggest complaint from clients or from coaches or from advisors or CEOs, if you will, is very similar to the complaint they have about their clients. Because how many lawyers have you heard complaining about, let me do my job? I don't need you calling your ex-wife to, threaten her about the motion we filed. Just don't talk to that person. Among the services you offer, which ones do you find most crucial?
Well, first and foremost, you got to start somewhere, right? So you've got to learn to be a good networker. So I did the whole one, when we were a legacy agency, I went to every BNI, every lunch, every breakfast, every cocktail reception. I trained myself to be a good networker. So the better networker you are, the more present you are, the more referrals you're going to get. Then you want to network with your existing clients for more referrals as well, right? So the fastest way, let me rephrase that. The least expensive way to do that is open up a MailChimp account and start doing a monthly newsletter. It's that simple. Why? Because if you're top of mind to your existing client base, they're more likely to refer you. So that would be the least expensive thing. Electronic newsletters have the highest ROI of any type of digital marketing because it's just creative. There's no cost of production. There's no cost of distribution, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, I would work on your online reputation. Do not spend tons and tons of time on social media. People don't understand organic social media. If you've got 100 followers and you put a post up, 1 to 2 people are going to see that post. And they already know who you are. People don't seem to understand that. So set that aside. Should you have a social media presence? Absolutely. But don't count on that for any referrals, and don't throw your limited resources at it. When I talked to the CEO of 8-figure firm, my conversation with him was about social media, was about paid social media. And his comment to me, and he built a very, very, very large law firm. If you can't invest $30,000 to $40,000 a month in paid social media, don't waste your time. Right. So with that in mind, networking, newsletters, reviews, and make sure you have a conversion optimized website. Earlier today, I was on a strategy session with a law firm. They're going to do close to $6 million this year. They had 3 conversion points on their homepage. 3. You're investing money to drive traffic to your website. What do you want them to do, Paul?
Call, set an appointment.
That's right.
Email,
That's right.
something.
Do you want to make it hard or easy for them to call you? We like the easy button, right? So our websites have anywhere from 9 to 12 conversion points on their homepage, and you don't even realize it when you scroll down. Meaning it's not obscene; it just kind of flows with the website. Okay, so that's another easy one to do. If you're small and you're in a competitive type of law, in a competitive market, and I'll say a competitive market is anything over 30, 40,000 people in your community, don't even waste your time on SEO. You won't rank. Because the firms that have the money to invest in SEO are going to rank, and you're not. Even if they're using, and I looked at somebody today, even if they're using a bad digital marketing agency, they had 3 locations. One of them was in a very small market of 12,000 people. That was their headquarters. Oh, we're dominating our market. Yeah, it's because there's 12,000 people there. You got 50 searches a month for what you do.
Of the emerging trends or technologies that you see on the horizon, what would you think are your most excited about? And I'm thinking about technologies that are going to be implemented and change law firm marketing pros as a company.
Yeah, so AI is something we're watching very, very closely, but it's continuing to evolve, and it's evolving at light speed. The problem with AI is that you have to be really careful with the content that you create with it. And I'm talking about blogs and articles and website content. You could use it internally. Let's say for the newsletter that I mentioned, that's easy, right? Because it's an internal thing. It's not for public consumption, only the people in your database. We are really excited about the video program that we just launched called My Law Video. Video has been around for a long time. But the evolution of where it is and where it's going in terms of reels in our 3 second world, you have 4 to 6 seconds to catch their attention, right? So the program that we've developed falls under the category that I mentioned earlier of helping put you in a category of one. That's one of the components. When the potential client sees the video, I want that lawyer. Like it's got to resonate with them at that level. I want that lawyer.
Let's say somebody listening or watching wants to get in touch with you. They're interested in your books or your agency or your marketing agency. What are the best ways to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So our website is real easy. It's lawfirmmarketingpros.com. If you go there at the top of the page, or the upper left-hand corner of the page, as soon as you get there, call us. And all you do is have to click the button. And you're going to fill in your name. It's actually a request to call. That's the first thing you see. Why? Well, why is it the first thing they see, right? Because that's what we want you to do. So here's a copy of my book. Oh, there we go. Why is that happening? Law Firm Digital Marketing Made Easy. The only book you'll ever need to become a best-known attorney, available on Amazon.com. There is a free download on our website under the resource section. So you can get a free download PDF, no obligation. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up for our podcast called Behind the Bench. And that's the best way to reach us.
I'm honored and excited that you joined our podcast. I knew who you were. I knew what you did, but I was really got a lot of information today. This was awesome. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invitation.
Anytime. Yeah. And to our listeners and those watching us, just remember, if you want to grow, chances are very strong that you're ultimately going to have to do something inappropriate.